Bartholomew. If I said Caleb Williams is going to throw for 4,000 yards this year, no Bears quarterback has ever done it, believe it or not.
Well, using my associate's degree math, that's like 235 yards a game. With the talent around him, I think he's going to do that and then some. I think the issue will be control him and staying balanced as an offense.
And we'll see if he can do it. Again, no Bears quarterback has ever done it before. Let's stay in the division. Jeff Darlington, if I said Jordan Love and the Packers are going to win the NFC North, believe it or not?
I do not believe it, partly because of what Bart's saying. The Bears are obviously an ascending team, but more importantly, we continue to disrespect the Lions every time we say the Packers are going to win the division. The Lions are positioned not only to win the division, but the whole league. I think that this is a team that's on the cusp of the NFC Championship, perhaps a Super Bowl appearance. The Lions win the division, not the Packers.
I like it. And then, Nick, let's go to Philly. If I said Jalen Hurts and the Eagles are going to win the NFC Championship as they did 2 years ago, you believe it or not?
I absolutely believe that. I think their shortcomings last year have been addressed by removing Nick Sirianni's participation in the offense and handing it over to Kellen Moore, Vic Fangio, taking care of that defense with all the talent that they have over there, and Jalen Hurts having a much better way to answer some of the challenges that defenses showed him last year. And I haven't even gotten to adding Saquon Barkley. So, yeah, this team is loaded, and I think they get the job done in the NFC.
Yeah, from a talent perspective, they're remarkable. But I want to talk about Hurts in particular. We all understand the expectations. We all understand the word redemption is connected to that. Not everyone is sold on this. This I found really interesting. It's from The Athletic. There was an anonymous defensive coach, Bart.
Our favorite people.
Who said this. Yeah, we don't love the anonymous quotes of this kind, but you tell me if it's right. Talking about Jalen Hurts, he said, the word is out there. If you run zero blitz against Hurts or show zero and back everyone out, he will panic. That has to change. They lose Jason Kelsey, who handled the protections, basically did everything, and you bring in a coordinator who likes to drop back. It will be interesting. That coordinator is Kellen Moore, who likes to throw the ball a lot. Now, the first thing I always worry about is that we use these expressions, and not every football fan necessarily knows what they mean. So very briefly, when people say zero blitz and that Jalen Hurts struggles against that, what does it mean, and is it right?
Well, that means zero blitz means that you have man-to-man across the board, no help, and you have one more that you can bring than they can block.
So they're rushing too many people for you to block.
You have one more to block. You don't know who's going to be the free man, but somebody's going to be free either inside or outside because the quarterback counts as 11, so it's really 11 against 10 when you think about football.
Okay.
So they get one free, and you have to make a quick decision quickly. Some people like to go quick screen. Some people like to retreat a lot and run routes, but it's basically something that makes you have to make a quick decision.
So let's put the full screen, Matt, if I can, B17 up there. 2 years ago, under the previous offensive coordinator, Shane Steichen, Jalen Hurts was great against the blitz. He threw 10 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Domonique, last year, he threw 5 touchdowns and 8 interceptions, which was the most of any quarterback against the blitz. So the criticism sounds at least as though statistically it bears out. Neek, what does this mean? Does this mean that Jalen Hurts has a fatal flaw?
No, I mean, it's a fair criticism of last season. I think we owe it to Jalen Hurts, especially based on the article that Jeremy Fowler wrote earlier this offseason, to understand that there weren't a ton of answers there. In part is because, at least in those reports, that Nick Sirianni was too involved in the offense, and he wanted a simplistic offense when this offense needed to evolve to add more dimension. So I have to say that Jalen Hurts is to blame for some of it, but I think overall, if you give him an answer, he's shown that he's probably the most adaptive quarterback we've had. As good as he's gotten, as quickly as he's gotten, he's obviously very smart and can learn. If you give him an answer, he will be able to find it. And dealing with the knee injury last year, I think hinders him also in being attacked with the zero blitz. So I think that Jalen Hurts will be fine in this situation if they give him an answer, a quick answer to avoid that pressure.
It's worth pointing out, they opened the season a week from Friday night against Jordan Love and the Packers. That is a fascinating opener. Again, the season starts on the Thursday, and then this game is Friday. So, Jeff Darlington, is there reason to believe that they've solved all the problems that seemed to manifest themselves in December last year? It wasn't just the blitz. This team felt like it was falling apart at the seams. Should we assume that they have figured that out?
I don't think we can assume it. We can listen to them say that they feel like they've figured it out. But until that first game, we're not going to know everything we need to know. And we will know a lot right away. To me, it's about a little bit of a leadership void, a little bit of an issue in the locker room when it comes to some of the chemistry. And I know, for instance, that Nick Sirianni understands that and he is trying to address it. But that's easier said than done. That is not an easy thing to simply fix. Some of these are natural-born leadership situations, and the roster they have perhaps has issues with that. Did they get it fixed this offseason? Will they be a more cohesive team in the locker room? To me, that is just as important as the X's and O's and some of these issues that we're talking about on offense.
What's the answer to that question, Bart? Are they going to put this thing back together again?
I mean, they have to. I mean, the relationship between Sirianni and Hurts is the most important relationship because, that's really the relationship that matters the most because that sets the culture. The quarterback's supposed to be an extension of the head coach. And you talk about the leadership that they lost. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but you have to make sure who's the strong voices and who's the unquestioned leader of this locker room. That remains to be seen. Is it A.J. Brown? Is it Lane Johnson? Is it Jalen Hurts?
It's supposed to be the quarterback.
But Jalen Hurts has to know, has to figure out how to come down because quarterbacks are separate from everybody else. Come down and be one of the guys.
Nick, go.
Yeah, I think the defense is we're going to focus a lot on the quarterback and the issues that they had last year. I think it's fair. And losing Jason Kelsey is going to be a problem, but I think that O-line is still going to be the best in football. But we have to remember how bad the defense got last year. That dominant D-line wasn't dominant.
Let's get up. We'll get to the college football in just a bit, but let's keep it moving in the NFL. The next game is likely or unlikely. Hey, Bart Scott, would you describe it as likely or unlikely that the Chiefs become the first team ever to win 3 straight Super Bowls?
I mean, this is tough for me, but it's unlikely in my opinion, but I put nothing past Patrick Mahomes. It's like, right when, you think you got him where you want him, Rashee Rice probably going to be suspended, Hollywood Brown hurt. They get Juju Smith-Schuster to come back. So, you think about their bullpen, but I just can't see them staying healthy and everything going their way 3 straight years. But if anybody can do it, Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, I think this is their era.
Nick, what do you think? Am I the only one who doesn't hear him? Okay, we're having all kinds of technical issues this morning, unfortunately. Let me go to my next question here. Jeff, I'll come to you on the Steelers. If I said the Steelers are going to make the playoffs this year, despite all of the questions at quarterback, would you describe that as likely or unlikely?
Well, first of all, I don't think we can ignore the questions at quarterback. I would say unlikely either way, though, because of the division. I mean, that division, honestly, you could make a case is the best in football. The Ravens should be Super Bowl contenders. The Bengals have Burrow back. The Browns actually seem like they're underrated and could be sneaky good. I just see the Steelers on the outside looking in of a really, really good division.
Bart, what do you think?
I know Mike Tomlin, his record, but you thought last year's quarterback situation was crazy with Mason Rudolph and Kenny Pickett. I can see it being more dysfunctional because these quarterbacks are going to have good games, flash moments, struggle, and it's going to be back and forth. When you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none. You need stability at the position.
Yeah, look, Mike Tomlin has pulled a lot of rabbits out of a lot of hats, but this is going to be a really tough one. I agree with Jeff. That division is loaded. If you're sleeping on Cleveland, you're making a huge mistake. Finally, Bart, I'll come back to you. If I said Aaron Rodgers and the Jets are going to make it to the AFC Championship game, would you describe that as likely or unlikely?
I would say likely. If we would ask this question and mention all the circumstances, the talent on the outside, the depth at defense, the resume of the quarterback, and change the name, everybody would agree with us. But I think people just love to hate on the Jets because it's beneficial or it's low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, look, the Jets, they deserve it based upon all of the foibles, all the things they've gotten wrong over the years. They have to prove to everyone, New York is not the show me state, but they're going to have to show everyone that they can do it until people are going to believe it. But I agree with your premise, which is that any other team having that roster, people would be buying into.
Look at how glass half full they are about the Texans, right? You got a young quarterback that's just done it for 1 year, rookie head coach. And they believe, so optimistic. But you talk about the Jets having potentially one of the best rosters in all of football. You have a top 5 or top 10 receiver. You have a top 5 fantasy running back. You have a top 5 or top 3 defense. And everybody's like, oh, no, I don't think they can compete. They don't even think they can win a division. Even though they beat the Bills every year with Zach Wilson or Trevor Siemian or somebody like that. Now with Aaron Rodgers, they think, oh, well, no, we think this still's the Bills' division.
Well, that's the point. And our big fella D. Wood was in here yesterday, and he himself seemed baffled that, in his words, everybody is sleeping on the 4-time MVP.
I feel like people out here are not putting enough respect on Aaron Rodgers' name. Aaron Rodgers is playing with the best defense that he's ever played with in his career. You don't think he's set up to not have a monster season? Aaron Rodgers is one of the best quarterbacks that we have ever seen lace him up.
Yep.
He's going to ball this year.
If he does, then there is every reason to think this team is going to be insanely dangerous. The last time Aaron Rodgers played with a top 5 defense, his team won the Super Bowl. And this statistic is the one that jumps out to me. Going back to the 2016 season, in any game in which Aaron Rodgers' defense allows fewer than 20 points, his team is 35-2. 35-2. I looked it up. That's a really good record. So here's what I'm going to say. And look, you can accuse me of being, the world knows that this is the team I root for. You root for yours, I root for mine. That's all well and good. I'm trying to do this as an analyst. Change my mind. If Aaron Rodgers stays healthy, the Jets are absolutely the biggest threat to Patrick Mahomes' three-peat in the conference. They have the best defense of anybody with the possible exception of Cleveland, and they have the most proven quarterback. He's Aaron Rodgers, for crying out loud. We talk about him like we talk about the Jets, Jeff, like there's a question mark at the quarterback position.
We do not. What is going on with you Jets people? Between Bart, I mean, I don't think this is a very good career decision or actually health decision to go against Bart Scott ever. But like between hearing Bart and Damian and now you talk about how nobody's respecting the Jets.
We sick of it. We're tired of seeing Peyton Manning tease us at the Country Grammy Awards.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Bart, they're fine. Everybody, we're just tired of it. We did the whole thing last offseason where we anointed the Jets and said they were going to win the Super Bowl, and then 4 plays into the season, he went down. We just want to see it. We don't want to hear you Jets people continue to talk about it. We just want to see them do something. We're tired of it. Bart and Damian and Greeny.
Nick, jump in.
Yeah, I mean, I get where Jeff's coming from, but you're right. I mean, that defense is guaranteed to be really good. Sauce Gardner might be the best corner in football, and then Quentin Williams is among the best defensive tackles in football. That defense is loaded. They're going to be great. And I think we're focusing a lot on Aaron Rodgers, but the real question mark with this team is how well the tackles can hold up. Aaron Rodgers is older, and those tackles need to be healthy. Morgan Moses and Tyron Smith are going to decide this season, and Olu Fashanu, the rookie that they drafted. I don't imagine that this is going to be Aaron Rodgers-centric offense. They're going to give the ball to Breece Hall, and a healthy Breece Hall is how they're going to run their offense and not ask a whole bunch out of Aaron Rodgers, which is why Jets fans should be excited. But you can't puff your chest out just yet. I think that's where Jeff is coming from, is no one's disrespecting you guys. We just want to see it happen. We know that this is one of the best rosters in all of football, and they have as good a chance as anyone not named the Kansas City Chiefs. But have we seen them put it together? And you know, Greeny, deep down inside, part of you thinks at some point the Jets might just jet again, right?
Well, of course.
You're scared too, aren't you?
That's the point. Now took it out of the equation, and you just looked at the pieces, you would say, holy smoke, this team is loaded.
Yeah, and talking to the guys, they really appreciate this year that, you know, they're able to do their work in silence. It's not the big noise, right? The NFL didn't pick them to do hard knocks. So it's quiet around there, and they've adjusted to what comes along with having a superstar quarterback. So I think they'd like to be under the radar. I think they probably performed better as being the underdog. Last year was uncomfortable for them to get all the primetime games, to be, you know, hearing everybody giving them their flowers, saying they should win a championship. But for everybody last year that said that the Jets would win the championship, tell me this. How much better is this roster this year? Because you don't have the same questions about the offensive line, the depth, because Joe Douglas did a great job in making sure that he got, you know, insurance for some of those question marks.
Quickly, Jeff, go.
No, I think that is very true. Again, I think my point is that we all believe the Jets have a very legitimate roster. But just like, by the way, the Bucs with Tom Brady that first season, they went through trials and tribulations despite having a really good roster. They've got to find a way to figure it out when things get low. That, to me, is the biggest question the Jets are going to face this year.
They won 7 with a cone last year. I mean, you put Aaron Rodgers.
The attention, Neek, did not work for them because the Jets know the old adage is true. Real G's move in silence.
Bars.
Thanks, Weezy.